Is journaling effective? How do I journal? Are there journaling tools? Will it benefit me? Yes, yes, and yes. Let's demystify this thing called journaling. And let's figure it out together, you and me. Because journaling is simply getting your thoughts out of your mind. That's all it is. It's kind of like it's talking things through with your best friend, an old friend you have. And it's a method of creating insight, clarity, and calmness. Journaling actually calms you. Journaling can have many different outcomes. It's dependent, the outcome of your journaling is dependent on the journaler. And we'll dive into what that means a little bit later on when we start talking about actually how to journal. Some fascinating things I found out, actually not things, but one fascinating thing I really hit home with me when I was researching journaling was that I came across this article, and the article said that journaling helps men more than it helps women. And that perplexed me for a second. And I didn't fully understand it until I started journaling. And that's absolutely true. Because women are much more likely to talk about their feelings, where men suppress their feelings. Men hide their feelings behind that proverbial brick wall. So guys, this is your way of getting a leg up. Like you can really, if you're going to commit to this, guys, you can get a leg up. Because not many guys are doing this. I know that before I was journaling, when I was looking into it, I was very apprehensive about journaling. Journaling was about discussing your emotions and your feelings, and it was foo-foo. I'm a man. I don't discuss my emotions. But that's not how it should be. I'm not one of these touchy-feely type guys, right? I grew up in a household where men don't cry. Men are the pillar of the family. They just don't cry. It's not what they do. So imagine my surprise when I finally decided to take on journaling, and I gave it a try, and all of a sudden, all of these feelings, these emotions started flooding out. It was kind of like turning on a fire hydrant. You ever turn a fire hydrant on and it's just a gush of water? Well, it was a gush of emotions. And it surprised me. But it also brought a sense of calmness for me. The more I journaled, the calmer I got. I want you to think about your thoughts as air bubbles. Pretend you're scuba diving. Now you're watching a scuba diver, right? You see the air bubbles that are under the surface? Those are your thoughts. And your thoughts rise up, just like those air bubbles rise up. And when they get to the surface and you let them out, they dissipate. They don't hold the control over you that they once did. Most journal segments that I do leave me refreshed, intrigued, excited, inspired to tackle the day or the next day. So my last thought on this before we jump into some of the ways we're going to actually do journaling and how journaling's done and the tools we need, all of that good stuff, the benefits of journaling, is specifically comes from the reason why I'm doing this segment today. I recently had a conversation with a person, and they were fearful of journaling. They were like, what happens if I lose my journal? What happens if someone reads my journal? What happens if that gets out into the public? I can't handle that. There's no way I can handle that. And I resonated with her because remember, I'm the guy that doesn't talk about my emotions. Now my emotions are in this journal. So I'm talking specifically to that individual right now because the next sentence I say is extremely, extremely important. I'm going to crush that belief. I'm going to give you permission and tell you exactly how to journal right now. There is no rule that says you must keep the pages after you journal. The process of journaling is where you gain the biggest benefit from, not from storing the journal on a shelf. So simply destroy those pages. Do a journaling session. Let those emotions come out. Write them on the paper. And if it causes that much anxiety for you, destroy the paper. Paper shredder. Crumble them up, tear them up, shred them. Do a campfire. Whatever it takes, but destroy them. And you'll get the benefit from journaling, and you'll leave the anxiety behind. Journaling, one of the true benefits of journaling is freeing your mind. It's to calm the mind. It's to bring clarity to the mind. These were the biggest benefits that I got. And all of that happens in the process of doing the actual journaling. So I want you to gain that benefit. And the best way you can gain that benefit is to physically journal and then destroy the pages. Let's think about the mind as two people. Here's a good analogy. Think about the mind as two people. The first person, we'll call the first person PFC. And that person is the portion of your brains that we use to form conscious thoughts. And as you are writing, you're engaging the PFC, the prefrontal cortex. Now the other person, we're going to call the other person LS. And LS is the emotional person. And because they're so emotional, they can't form good sentences. They can't even form good thoughts. And this makes sense when you think about when you're in an emotional state. When you're in an emotional state, are you speechless? Or maybe you're so angry you can't find the words. I don't have the words. I don't have the words. I just want to... And you start repeating yourself. That's your limbic system, LS. You like how I did that, right? That's your limbic system taking over. And your limbic system is where a lot of your emotions come from. So when you're journaling, you're using a lot of words. For you to be able to use a lot of words, you have to be engaging your prefrontal cortex. And when you're engaging your prefrontal cortex, you're using those words, you're actually calming your limbic system because you're not engaging it as much. So journaling helps calm you. How do we journal? Before we get to the actual process, the actual physical writing of journaling, before we get there, I want to discuss a couple of tools that we need. And this is where people make it complex. This is where some people make it so complex that they don't even start. To begin journaling, you simply need a way of capturing your thoughts. That's it. It's that simple. You need a way of capturing your thoughts. In my opinion, the best way of doing that is pen and paper. But I'm a bit old school. And for the younger crowd out there, you may resonate more with doing it on an app or a Word doc or recording your voice. If that works for you, then that's what you're using. Those are the tools you need. But I believe in KISS, right? Keep it simple, stupid. Stupid being me because I like things very, very easy, very non-complex. As you keep it simple, that just means pen and paper. Like literally pick up a sheet of paper, a napkin. This is what I have available here right now, a napkin. A napkin and a pen. I can journal. Right? I can journal if I send myself a text. If I have a notes app. I can journal on a Word doc. So whatever resonates with you, whatever however you can make it as easy as possible, that's what my suggestion is of the tools that you need. Some people like doing journaling at a specific time of day, in a specific location. They want fancy tools and stamps and different color pens. If that works for that individual, if that's what makes it fun and intriguing and it gets them to do it, if you're that type of individual, then that's how you journal. But we're keeping it simple. We're doing what works for us. And I'm just giving you ideas. So use what resonates with you and throw the rest out. So how do we actually journal? So there's 3 primary methods I use when I journal. The first is a brain dump. And the brain dump is just, I'll sit here and just write. Just literally whatever thought pops up into my mind. It's cold today. I write, it's cold today. Right? It's raining out. It's raining out. Sometimes I'll start with just the day, right? Wednesday, March 23rd, 2023, 10 a.m. I'll make a notation about what the weather is. If I need to get the momentum going. But the first way of journaling is a brain dump. It's typically one thought leads to another thought, and I use it when I'm feeling stuck, when I need inspiration, when I'm feeling overwhelmed, when I'm experiencing brain fog. It's a way for me to get everything out, to make room in my mind so that my mind can start spinning again, to declutter the closet, sort of. Some days I just want to capture the highlights of my day. This is the second way I journal. Sometimes I just want to capture the highlights. And when I want to do that, it's just, I just kind of make think of it like bullet points, right? If you're a programmer and on audit list or bullet points or how you write a to-do list, I just write very brief descriptions of what I did. So the accomplishments, when I want to remember the accomplishments, because I'm going to use my journal. I use my journal as, at the end of the year, I go back over my journal and I use it as a measurement of progress. We'll talk about that in a little bit and the benefits. But when I cleaned the garage and I swept out the chicken coop, the bedding in the chicken coop, maybe I repaired the car, I came up with a new idea for this YouTube channel, whatever, I created a new document, a new giveaway, right? Core values or Air 3 Steps to Winning, whatever it is. I booked a talk. If I just want to just bullet list, I don't need to do that brain dump. I don't need to get a lot of things out, but I do want to make a kind of like a reminder list so that when I go over my year, I can see, oh, that's when I did that. That's when I started that. That's when I instituted that, and look at everything that happened. I do that a lot too. I have a wall calendar right here. So I'll jot a lot of my bullet points. I'll jot on the wall calendar if I'm changing things so that I can see, oh, I changed it 2 weeks ago and now the numbers are starting to reflect the changes that I made. The third way, I use prompts. I typically use prompts when I'm feeling stuck, when I need clarity, when I lose sight of what my purpose is, when I lose sight of my long-term goal, when I lose sight of my vision. Happens to the best of us. And I will journal off of prompts in those areas. I'll journal about my goal or about the purpose behind the creation of the goal. So journaling will remind me of my why. Now, I know what my why is. My why is to help 112 million people reach their version of freedom. I want them to be freedom thinkers, to think for themselves, to break out of the mold society placed them in. I know what my why is. But sometimes I wander off. Sometimes I get lost in the forest and I have to find my way back to the path. Journaling helps me do that. It refocuses me. That's a good way of putting it. It refocuses me. So some of the most powerful prompts that I use, what's working, what's not working. If I continue on this path, changing nothing, where am I going to be in 3 months, 6 months, maybe a year? What's my ideal day, week, month, year? What's my ideal fill in the blank look like? What distracts me from being my best self? So what's distracting me in this moment from being the best version of myself? Another one I like, I think about an alien coming down to Earth. Like an alien lands in my yard and he comes up to me and he starts describing me. He's like, I've been observing you for a day, week, month, year. And this is what I see. And he'll start describing me. And I'll journal on that. And does that description, based upon what I've been doing, the actions I've been taking, does that description fit who I want to be seen as? Right? When I write my obituary, when I go through that exercise of writing my obituary, is this alien seeing the actions that will produce the person I want to be? How am I feeling right now? Why am I feeling how I'm feeling? What's behind the feelings that I'm having? Here's another good one. If I only had 1 hour to work, what would I do right now? What would I do in the next hour to move the needle? Now let's jump into when to journal. Some people say it's got to be part of the morning routine. Some people say it's got to be part of the evening routine. Some people say I can only journal if I'm sitting in my bed or on my couch. The appropriate time to journal is anytime I feel like it. That's what I journal. Now, primarily for me, I will journal in the morning and or in the evening. Those are my primary times. But just because that's what works for me doesn't mean it's the end-all be-all. You have to journal when it works for you. This goes back to the KISS method. Whenever possible. I've journaled in the car. I've journaled in the doctor's office. I've journaled standing online in the grocery store. The easier it is to do, the more likely I am to do it. So I'm going to journal whenever I feel the need. Whenever I want to capture those bullet points, or I need to do a deeper session and I need to really dive into what's distracting me, what's causing the procrastination, what's taking me off my path. So that's what I journal. I journal when I want to capture something, whether that's bullet points or I need clarity or I'm starting to feel disconnected from my purpose or my why, and I want to just remind myself of why I'm doing what I'm doing. The other time I will journal is when I'm looking for inspiration and ideas of what to speak about. So I'll journal about people I met and conversations I had and books that I've read and takeaways that I've had so that I can bring all of that to the forefront. It's on my mind and then I can speak about it. My best journaling though, and this is for me, again, it's a personal preference, but my best journaling comes from when I'm sitting out in nature. I either go on a hike and I find a rock to sit on and I'm sitting in the middle of the woods. I'm sitting on a mountain peak looking out over the valley. Sometimes I'm just sitting out on the deck watching the squirrels and the chipmunks chase each other and the birds come down. I just like being outdoors, feeling the sun on me, the cool breeze, listening to the rustle of the leaves in the fall. Wherever it brings you calmness, like being in that environment, it brings me calmness. That's when I do my real deep journaling. I can't do a deep journal session in a doctor's office. There's too many distractions around. I can't do it in the grocery. But I can do bullet points. I can scratch out ideas. But to actually do prompted journaling and to reconnect with my purpose and to gain inspiration, that's when I go out into nature, whether it's the deck, the forest, the mountaintop, the waterfall. Waterfalls are awesome. And next to Babylon Brooks, it can't just be a river, because rivers kind of like, they don't have any noise to them. I want to hear that water coming over the rocks. So find your place and just start the process. You can literally journal anywhere. I want to touch on one other benefit that I've experienced in journaling. The benefit of inspiration. Journaling's brought me a lot of inspiration. This channel came from a journaling session. My purpose came from a journaling session. And a lot of my emotions, we spoke about that earlier, a lot of my emotions bubbled up to the surface because of journaling sessions. And remember when I spoke about how men benefit more from women? I really have benefited from acknowledging those emotions. Now, I still don't let my emotions out to the public, but I let them out to my page, right? My coach, whatever you want to call your journal. I let it out to them, and it actually brings me lightness, and I become a little bit calmer. I feel lighter is the best word to describe it. The last benefit that I'm going to discuss about journaling is it gives you a goalpost to measure from, right? All too often we're chasing the horizon. Why haven't I made it there? Why haven't I found it? Why haven't I hit my goal, gained my success, found my freedom, fill in the blank, right? Whatever the horizon is for us. Hint, the horizon keeps moving. The horizon keeps moving. You're never going to catch the horizon. Stop chasing the horizon. Chase the process. Enjoy the process. That's where the fulfillment comes from. It doesn't come from the attainment. It comes from the process. And if you can enjoy the process, as that horizon keeps moving, I just keep the process going. So essentially, there is no end. I hit my goal of viewership, of sales, of income. But then there's another goal beyond that. I can now go out and help more people, right? So the journals, especially at the end of the year, help me look back over the year and say, oh, you know what? I started my YouTube channel with 9 viewers. I have 100 viewers now. Look at all of that growth I had, right? I started the year with 0 knowledge on journaling, let's say. And I've studied these individuals and I read these research papers and I journaled about journaling 5 times over the course of the year. Now people come and ask me about journaling. They ask me how to start. They ask me if they're doing it right. So as I journal all of this stuff out, whether it's bullet points, prompts, or just brain dumps, I have a gauge of where I started from, and that's how you measure your progress. You measure your growth from where you came from, not how far you are from where you intend to go. Because when you get to where you intend to go, the goalpost moves. Who moved my cheese? The goalpost moves. And now you're pursuing another goalpost. And that's the process. That's how it's supposed to be. Guys, I want to leave you with some of my favorite prompts to get you started. If you're just starting out, or even if you're not, these are 2 of my favorite prompts to get my mind thinking so that I can actually start the journaling process. The first one, what does my life look like 90 days from today? So what do I want my life to look like 90 days from today? And if you want to go a level deeper, then ask yourself, what's distracting me from hitting that view of my life in 90 days? Because as you journal those distractions, you could start eliminating those distractions. Guys, we live up here in the numerator, not down in the denominator. Go out there today and be unstoppable! And absolutely crush your day. I love spending time with you. Thanks for joining me. Have a very blessed day.